Hello, this is Andy Gainey, and I'm here to demo my Ludum Dare 29 Game Jam game, Symptomatic. It was admittedly a little opaque in terms of the mechanics, how it works, so I was going to make this video to help explain, since at the moment I didn't have enough time to actually provide a nice in-game tutorial or the various forms of feedback that would help make it clear. So to begin with, I'm going to start with a custom game with all information revealed. This game is similar to Minesweeper in that there's hidden information that you try to guess at, and to succeed at the game, you have to guess accurately to be able to figure out what's going on. So with all of the information revealed, that information is these different pathways, a tangled mess that is going on. In a normal game, you don't have any of that revealed, and you have to try to guess what it is based on the behavior of the entities in the game. So what we have here is the pathogen. This is sort of a metaphor for a pathogen moving through just beneath the surface of the skin. And this pathogen will move four cells every turn. And so we can see here, with all of the information already provided, the game tries to provide us with where it thinks the pathogen will end up next turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see it'll land there, assuming the information is correct. Given that we revealed 100% of the information, it is correct. So each turn also, the pathogen generates symptoms that are visible on the surface of the skin, and these are the red objects. And they have a radius of 3, so each turn the pathogen, in all 6 directions from its cell, radiates out the symptoms. So you can see here, 1, 2, 3, there's that one. Or 1, 2, 3, this one is going along the same path that the pathogen is actually traveling along. Out over here, 1, 2, 3. So that happens in all 6 directions from the pathogen cell. And from that, you can sort of begin to infer perhaps what types of paths the symptoms traveled along, because you know that they always traveled the exact same number of steps for that given game type. Different game types, normal, hard, and so forth, will in fact have different number of steps, which can affect how easy or hard it is to infer what the pathways are. So if we started, well, first of all, let me continue here since we have information already. The 4 on the pathogen is basically its life. You're trying to apply an antigen to it to destroy it. And to do that, you have to apply the antigen at its target location right before it arrives. So basically, the game right now is waiting for you to make your guess as to where the pathogen will be. And to do that, you simply double-click on that cell where you think it will be. So there I successfully did 1 point of damage to the pathogen. It shows up in its new location, and it radiates out a new set of symptoms. If I misguessed, no real harm is done. I just don't do any damage to the pathogen, and my the total turns that I've taken here is 2. So to try to get a better score, for example, you would try to make as many correct guesses as quickly as possible. But in many cases, it takes some time before you start to really get a feel for the landscape and be able to accurately make those guesses. You'll also notice around the edge there's the faded cells. These are basically wrapped around cells that, because the whole game world is wraps on both the top and bottom and left and right. So here you can see the pathogen. It's also mirrored up here, and its path sort of cuts across the edge. So that can get a little confusing sometimes also. So let's go ahead and begin a normal game without information revealed. In this case, the pathogen will move 4 cells every turn, and the symptoms move 3. And as we saw, there's always a single symptom that is traveling along the same pathway as the pathogen. So given these numbers, I know that one of these symptoms is basically pointing towards the cell that the pathogen is going to land in next turn. And the idea here is we don't have any paths drawn now, so we have to sort of make those guesses ourselves. It's akin sort of to Minesweeper placing a flag. You're not actually affecting the game world, you're just giving yourself information about where you think things are. So here, we start here, we could just click and drag, and imagine that that there's a path between those two cells, and there's going to be a path between every two adjacent cells. But that would mean that that symptom only took one movement to get there, which we know is not correct. So what we want to try to figure out is how can we get there and facing in the direction that that symptom is facing, but take 3 steps to do so. One quick way to do that is come up here, 1, 2, there's 3, and then we drag over to get it facing the right direction. That's a guess that we have now provided. It might be accurate, it might not be accurate. I'm still learning strategies myself for how to play my own game. For now, I've just been taking wild guesses for the ones that are tricky, taking more specific guesses where I know, but if it's bad information, I can always redraw over it. For example, we have this one up here. For the most part, we have to head straight there, but there's a few different ways we could do it. I could cancel what I was thinking was happening in that first cell there and override it and have a new path here. But there's a few other ways. I could go this way, I could go this way. And sometimes I start making guesses like these, and then I move on to another symptom, try to figure out how to arrive at that symptom's cell and orientation, and realize that I have to sort of wipe out one of my earlier guesses because it's getting in the way and there's no possible way left for me to explain that symptom, the second symptom's location. So I'm going to guess that this guy is moving this way and he's up there. Let's see here. In fact, actually, yeah, I'm going to change my mind again. That happens a lot. Because what I kind of need, since I have 6 fixed directions, sometimes if there's a concentration of symptoms on the other side, I have to make sure that I leave myself enough outputs from the pathogen cell to actually reach all of the different symptoms. So you also notice there's no black line and a star yet, because I have not provided the game with enough information to say how it might actually try to guess the location, the path along which the pathogen would follow. But in a moment, as I try to speculate about where this last one is heading, then I've actually provided the game enough information it can make that guess. I have a little extra junk left over here from my fiddling around. I can just single click on that and it'll just erase it. So now I have my first turn sort of worked out, and I think the pathogen is probably going to end up here. I could be wrong. There might be other ways to arrive at one of the symptoms, leaving the pathogen cell from the left. But I'm going to take a guess here. And, in fact, that turned out to be correct this time. So now I have some more information. Going up here, I can see that this one is already basically going back the way I came. So I know that that's probably more or less correct. I also know that the pathogen traveled through this cell, and now I know which way it's facing, so I can at least add that information. Now things get a little trickier because I have some of this information already set, and I don't want to wipe it out if I think it's accurate. But I do have a bit of a difficulty here with this guy. I imagine he could come up through here, but now I've wiped out my old information. But I also realized that I could have gotten there last turn by going this way. And you can see that those paths overlap just fine and don't interfere with each other. Similarly, though, I have a hard time getting over to this cell. But, again, oh, I messed up there. But again, I can sort of fix that after the fact and try to speculate about where I had gone wrong the previous turn. The guy on the left here, he's pretty easy. There's only one way to get to where he's going in 3 moves. Now I have a couple of symptoms below me. I'll just sort of guess here, and it gets a little tricky when they're on the edge. You just have to sort of do it in 2 pieces. So given what I have now, I have another guess about where it'll be, so I'll try that one. And that one was inaccurate. And this is also where I'm lacking a little bit of information in my game's interface. I have to remember it was here. I kind of have to remember where the various previous symptoms were, because if I'm to explain how the pathogen actually arrived here, I'm going to have to sort of wipe out some information. That's the most important thing at the moment, so I'm going to sort of guess that that's actually the path that it took. From here is 1, 2, 3, 4. And that might not be right, I don't know. But as I go, some of this information is revealed, and once I win, you'll actually get to see that some of the some information is shown about which areas you guessed correctly and which areas you did not guess correctly. Regrettably, that only happens when you win. I was thinking about Minesweeper again, and I realized, oh, it's really easy to lose in Minesweeper. And every time you do, you get a lot of very valuable information about where you went wrong and how you went wrong, and how you might have actually seen ahead of time that you were going to go wrong, but just, you know, you're learning the game. In my game here, you can't lose, and the only way to get that valuable information is to win, but when you don't understand fully how the game works or all of the nuanced strategies that might be available, it's really hard to win, and thus really hard to acquire that information and that knowledge. So there's some feedback that I need to add into this game to help with that. So this is getting a little confounded already. I'm having a hard time explaining how this guy got up here, because I've already used that direction over there to explain him. The upward direction... Oh, no, because the... that's right, because I have the down right is explaining him. So I still have an up left sort of free. Now, it'll kind of wipe out some old information, but it was probably wrong in some subtle way, and this will help. This is more recent information, so I'll go with it. So I got him there, and that's an interesting one. Everyone's all lined up. Got a couple people going off to the left. I call them people for some reason, I don't know. Oh, wrong direction there. And then finally, and you learn that there's a lot of little twists and turns that you can end up doing, and a lot of interesting overlaps, which kind of surprised me when I first got the random generation going on, because there's exactly only 15 different combinations of paths inside these cells possible. And I didn't, you know, really expect out of only 15 combinations there to be so much craziness. But when you put them all together in a big group, it turns out that all sorts of strange arrangements and patterns can pop up. So let's see. Some of these are already explained. We have a path up here that explains that symptom. A path back here that explains that symptom. No one that explains him, and he's kind of facing an odd direction. I got a partial path going up this way. I'm going to extend it and change it. And the symptom down here, that's probably just an extension of what I already had. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting most of my guesses. I've learned the game well enough for the normal mode to kind of make sense to me. And there's been a few patterns that I have observed in the past that I've also not run into. They can be kind of obnoxious, so it's nice being able to avoid them. So let's see. Again, some of these might be explained. There's the one coming back from where I came. Nope, most of these are kind of new. And most of them are over the edge of the game world. Again, complicating things a little bit. This guy really close is interesting. Might be a lot of wiggling going on to get to where he was. Again, wiping out information because I just don't know how else to explain some of these. Okay, let's see if we can win this. Yep. So, here's the information I was talking about that you get at the end. White is, so these narrow paths are the actual paths, the actual pathways that the pathogen and the symptoms were traveling along. The white ones are where you didn't even make a guess at all. The red ones are where you made a wrong guess, and the blue ones are correct guesses. So, I had a fair number of correct guesses, and I also had a fair number of incorrect guesses. And some of those were older pieces of information that I just didn't care about. Sort of around the area where I was, I had a fair number that were correct, that were helping me sort of guess what was going on. If we went for a harder game mode, this one is particularly tricky, not only because each turn everything moves further, so there's more windiness that might be involved in the path, but the pathogen is also moving 2 units further than the symptoms. I don't know how hard this game mode is. I haven't actually played this one very much. I just know it's hard. So, a lot of these guys, let's see, we have to go 4 whole steps to be able to explain them, which gives them a lot of options about how crazy they can get. I'm going to make some completely wild guesses here. And do I have... Yeah. 1, 2, 3... Oh, no, that's 5. That's too far. So I got myself a little messed up there. I'll shorten that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I still have to get there. Let's eliminate some of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just say that. And you'll notice there's no star here because this only provides information move 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 cells, but the pathogen speed is 6. So the game doesn't have enough information based on my guesses to know where after 6 moves it would actually end up. I'm just going to take a stab right here. And obviously I was way off. So this is clearly a game mode where you'd have to start building out a lot of information before you'd even have the slightest hope of getting some guesses right. I don't know how long that might take. It'd be kind of interesting if people wanted to playtest that obsessively and find out how well they can do. I'll mess that one up. Whatever, I was clearly very wrong. So I don't expect to be able to beat this level anytime soon, and I don't have a debug mode where I can show everything, but this gives you... Oh, I actually managed to get him somehow, very luckily. Of course, with 10 hit points, it'd take forever to actually, finish this guy off. And you can always experiment with different properties. This would be valuable for me as a designer, just trying to experiment with what sort of things are easy or hard, or in which ways. You can also say the percentage of how much is revealed. So we could do the same movement properties, but I only have to hit it correct once. And I actually have a few pieces of information that are given to me that sort of help me out. Let's see if we can get any of these. It's still kind of interesting because I have a whole bunch clustered around me, despite them moving 4 steps, which means that they're doing a lot of circling back on themselves, which can make it really tricky to figure out what's going on. Now I have a nice long 3-segment path here that is helping me out. So 1, 2, 3, and it just has to go there to explain that guy is 4. Another path starts off here, and it could go in a few different directions from this cell. 1, 2, 3, 4. It can't go that way. That wouldn't be useful because it doesn't lead to a symptom. It probably goes up to this guy. So 1, 2, 3. It might curve over to the right and then up here. This one, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. This might go over here. What else do I have left? Haven't explained him, and I got this curve here. Regrettably, I don't have any way to lock a guess in place, so as I start making additional guesses, it gets really hard to remember what was guaranteed to be correct and what was not. There are all sorts of interface improvements that could be made to this game. I'm going to go ahead and just try to guess a few times where this guy is going. I only have to get correct once. So here, it's interesting that since there's 2 tight curves already displayed, I just realized now, given that information, I know that the other one has to go that way. There's no other arrangement. So that kind of helps a little bit. Makes it a little strange trying to figure out. Oh, so none of these seem to be the right number of steps away, but I realized something. 1, 2, 3, 4. It circles back around on himself. And that was indeed correct. Yeah, I made some wrong guesses up here, but for the most part I hadn't made any guesses. Everything that's blue is provided for me. But that hopefully gives you a basic understanding of how the game works, and you might be able to explore it yourself if you want. Thank you for watching.